always kind of been the underdog, not the biggest, not the fastest, not the tallest, not the strongest, definitely not the smartest. I just always believed in myself, and I hope that that'll rub off on some people.
All right, everyone. Visions to Venture Season 2 here. I am your host, Javier. Bring us, like I started this and never thought myself of like branching out to New Mexico, but hey, here we are. I have Brandon from NCB Mechanical. We just messaged through DMs, and he's been such a great guy. So I wanted him to introduce his business and introduce, himself. So Brandon, this is your time.
Yeah, so Brandon Saiz, Albuquerque, New Mexico, owner of NCB Mechanical. We've been around 3 years. We'll do 3 million in revenue this year. So we've gone from 0 to 6 total in 3 years. So that's who I am. That's what we're about, and that's where I'm from.
Hey, 3 million. Okay. That's
Yeah,
really good, because it's like within 3 years, yeah, that's really motivating to hear. And congrats to
yeah.
you on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's tough, but it's just like anything. If you're that committed, you got to be willing to start blocking out distractions and get moving on your goal, your vision. So
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that's what it is, visions, and then to that venture,
visions to ventures.
yeah, yeah. So, well, Brandon, what inspired you to start your business?
Yeah, so a few things. My dad got me into the trade very young. I was about 10 years old when I would help him do swamp coolers, and ran a few gas lines. He always had me up really early on the weekends. So I've always been working. The next big things were, I wanted to impact people in a bigger way than myself. I knew I could do that. I knew the only way I could do that is by doing what I'm doing now and giving them a platform to win and be successful. The other thing is, you know, growing up, I got tired of people putting that governor on you and always trying
Mm,
to slow you down. I want to go fast, I want to move quickly. And I got bored when people would put that ceiling on you, like, oh, well,
mm.
you can't go any further, or this is as high as you can get. It's kind of like, no, fuck that. Like, I know what I want, and I needed to take that ceiling off for myself, and that's where I'm at now.
No, that's interesting you say, because it's you know, I want to make sure, like, the viewers and listeners, that if there's a certain like limit, or like, something that you start off right, it's always like, it's in school, it's like you have to go, work, and then just that's it. But you're creating that, you're like, no, like how you said, fuck it, I'm gonna create my own fucking ceiling, and that
Yeah,
ceiling's not gonna have a fucking limit. It's like,
exactly. And that
and that's
and
yeah,
that's something that we all experience growing up now is throughout school, throughout whatever we do, it's always
yeah,
like you're like kind of like you have to stick to this baseline, and it's if you got the vision, you got to go for it. So
yeah.
again, those are the things.
And I know you mentioned like helping, do you mean by like helping your employees, or just helping everyone that you do get to
Yeah,
meet?
yeah. Well, most of my employees are the people that are coming on with me. So when
Mm,
I was 19, I first started into the trade, or my first actual job in the trade, I should say. And it was just a company that really tried to hold me back.
mm,
And they made me work out of like the warehouse, be a parts runner. They would give me occasional field time. So that's what I mean now, as far as giving people a platform. I don't want to hold anybody back, and that's what drove me crazy when I had just had my first actual job. Is I felt like I didn't have the platform to really be successful on.
yeah. No, that's awesome. I just wanted to clarify, because I was like, want to make sure I got that correct.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so when you started off, and you mentioned 3 years ago, right? So it's already been 3 years. So
Almost
what
about two and a
what
half, really, but yeah.
okay. What challenges did you face when you first started off your business?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the biggest challenge is building a brand. Nobody knows you. They don't know your work. They don't know your name. Then that was the most difficult part. You're showing up to a house and they're kind of like, oh, well, why should I go with you? And you're kind of like, fuck, I just started yesterday or 2 months ago. I'm still trying to figure this whole thing out, but it's how you carry yourself with confidence and different things like that. And it's how you're gonna be able to start to get the business. That was the hardest part. Still is the hardest part, is building a brand and competing with companies and people that have been around for so long.
Yeah, and I guess that's what, right? Because you look young, so kind of bringing that, like, I guess trying to stay with what's, first of all, like, would be customer service. I'm sure, bringing that, your
Yeah,
attitude, your branding is who you makes you. But then from there, it's like, how can I make this experience better than if they, like you said, right? There's been other business out there. So what is that gonna be different from them to yours? You know.
exactly.
So
Absolutely. And that was, again, that was the hardest part. Another part that was very difficult is leadership. I technically never really been in a leadership role before I opened up a business. I managed a small group of people, my own team. I was the lead tech, and I had three or four people at the time. So that was the most management skills. But business really comes down to leadership. Law of the lid. I don't know if you're familiar with John Maxwell, but he talks a lot about the law of the lid, that you can only go as high as leadership. That was the next
hmm.
most difficult thing for me.
And so with your leadership, is it were you picking like from the leaders that you had before in the past, like the good, and then also saw the bad of it, right? And just kind of made your own type of your own personal leader
Yeah,
that you are now?
yeah, absolutely. So it's important that you're willing to listen and learn, and it's also important that you know who you are and the type of person that you are, and that you mesh those two things, and that's how you can start to scale. You can't try to be somebody else. You have to be yourself, and then you have to be willing to sit back, shut up, and listen to people that have already done it, and then blend those two as best as possible.
Oh, okay. No, I like that. And one thing that I'm learning so far, and I love doing this and meeting new people and having, is that it's always a learning, right? You're always learning.
Yeah,
You're never like, oh, I got this, I know this, or I made it, I know my branding. I feel like it's always continue learning, finding, and you might tweak it a little bit, right? Where you change it here and there, but you make it continue to improving that. And I feel why you've become so successful within, I mean, 2.5 years, right? Like it's such
yeah,
you got that past
short.
that. Every time I hear people say, oh, that 2 years, where it's either you make it or break it, and you're just continuing because you're improving and you're learning of who you are.
Yes, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So when you were having your team, like you were bringing in your team and stuff like that, or, joining, how were you able to build such a like a highly skilled team that, to your company?
Well, so a few things, right? I have to. It's important for my job. Again, this is John Maxwell stuff, but he talks about painting the picture for your team. When I'm bringing people on, it's important that I'm letting them know that, hey, when you come on with me, you're going to be successful. Goes back to also
Mhm.
being self-confident. I have to believe in what I'm preaching. So when I'm sitting down with these guys and they're coming from companies that have been around for 30 plus years, it's important that I carry myself a certain way. And it's important that I'm giving them a vision and a path to follow to be successful. So anytime I've sat down with someone, hey, this is where we're going. This is where I see you fit. And there's no ceilings, there's no governors. And I know that you're going to be successful, and this will take you to the next level.
Okay, and with that, like, let's say you have, one of them, your employees is like, hey, um, I want to be able to I learned so much from you. I want to be able to start my own business. And I feel like with certain businesses, right? Like you can be great at all, but then there's one that, like, let's say he wants to branch off and be like, oh, I want to just focus on this type of work in my field. How do you kind of mentor him, or how do you talk to him of like to make him evolve, or is that kind of like a challenge where you're like, I really didn't want this person to leave?
No, so I personally don't think I'd ever fight it. I really don't. The company that I came up from, the second company I came up with from, huge company here, and they really
Hmm.
mentored me and guided me. And to be honest, they pretty much supported me throughout the process. So it's important to me that I help people evolve and become the best version of themselves. And if they see fit that they need to branch off and do their own thing, then that's on them. It's also important on our side to make sure that we're constantly evolving and giving them the best possible chance to be successful. And if we do all that and they still want to take off and branch off, it's hard to fight. I wanted to, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? I can't fight them on that.
Yeah, and I guess like you could say, right? You see, okay, I was in their shoes at one point, and not to say like, oh, they want to branch out because they don't like you as a leader. It's just they
Correct.
see it's because of the leader that you are, that you created that, like there's no limits, so you can
Yep.
be your
Yep.
own. So
You can
that's
be. Yep. Absolutely.
really
Absolutely.
um with So give us. So you said with your company is HVAC, right? HVAC and
HVAC, plumbing, and drains.
so with that, how are you able to kind of stay ahead with as far as technology wise with your company? Is there a
Well,
lot? Is technology a big thing in that type of business?
yeah, well, technology is everything today. So we have a CRM that is phenomenal. It tells us our gross revenue, our gross profit, net profit, how profitable jobs are coming out. So that's how we use. That's one of the big things that we use as far as technology is that. SEO is all Google, which is all an algorithm.
Mm,
Um, those two are huge. So we use it every day.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I wasn't, and I want to like be able to kind of see the picture, right? Like I can just be like, oh, these, this company, they just go out there and do the job. That's nothing else. It's just either by referral. But I mean, you are like bringing in that like the CRM, which is the management. What is it called? the
I don't even know. I don't know what it
no, no,
stands for, but I know what it is.
and it's just to
So
manage, right, like the data and everything, just to kind of see
that's what it
how
does.
you.
Yep.
So and I'm like blinking out, but anyways, so it's good, interesting to know that you're actually that's how you're able to keep yourself, tracked and see that things that you're doing are working, and it's just not like
Yeah.
by, oh well, it just the gross revenue that's coming in. It's like, no, you're actually putting in the work and putting in all that numbers
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. So, and even to add on to that, social media is technology.
Yeah.
And my generation, I'm 29 right now. So we were at that big boom. So even now, when I post stuff, I get quite a few responses of new homeowners and people selling their houses and all those different things. So to add to that importance of technology, social media is massive.
Yeah. And with social media, do you post like, is it just on Instagram, or do you have like TikTok, or what platforms are you currently
No, no TikTok. I thought about getting into it, but mostly Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat.
on? Okay,
That's the stuff
that's
that I
good.
use.
Yeah. At least, well, with TikTok, all you gotta do is dancey dance, and you get
Yeah,
no,
I'd have to if I have to find someone to help me out with the
no.
dances.
So take dance lessons, and then go from there. But
Yeah,
not, yeah, I just say that because it's interesting to know what because I've had some companies that are there just like, I just go by referral, and I'm like, I don't need no technology, I don't need
no,
anything, and kind of
no.
seeing
But I
that.
mean, I mean, you might stay in business, but you're never going to scale. If you're trying to scale, you got to be omnipresent. You got to start thinking about being everywhere.
Yeah,
So that's why we post. That's why I post so much. That's why we post so much on every platform. That's why we spend so much money on Google. Google is expensive.
yeah,
It's worth it. It's 100% worth it. But you have to adapt or die in this game. So
correct. And for me, the one I listen to, and probably people don't really I heard people don't like, is Gary V, right? It's like how he tells
yeah,
me, you heard of that guy, Gary V?
yeah,
um
yeah, yeah. Of course.
he tells me, he says like, you gotta like document everything, you gotta like, it's not just about creating content, but document everything, and then just staying within staying and evolving with the technology that's coming out. With that being said, I just, like you mentioned, adapt or change, right? So new platforms are coming out. Everyone's jumping to this Instagram thread. So it's kind of like, now I
Yeah,
have to switch my
that's how I
gears. I'm
found
like,
you.
you did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
that's what I responded to. That's how we got
oh
here.
yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's just like, and I like it because like, for me, it's like, I love how technology works. You find me, and then I'm like, I can't just bring a guest without actually going into their profile or their Instagram.
and seeing what they're about.
Correct.
Of course.
Because I can't be like, oh yeah, sure, come in, and then, hey Brandon, I don't know what you do, but tell me,
But
you know,
yeah, yeah,
and I have to do my own research and be like, okay, like and see, but just looking at that, and just from the beginning hearing what you say, it's like, okay, this person is exactly the one. Brandon is exactly who I want on the podcast, because I want to be able
yeah.
him to motivate, inspire, and just hearing your story, and that's exactly what I want. That's just why I
Of
created
course.
this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're gonna change the game here. So
Yeah.
we're gonna. Well, I know we're gonna inspire some people. I can guarantee you that.
No, I appreciate it. So if someone's starting off their business, what's something like that? what advice do you like have that for them that, hey, I want to be able to
Yeah,
start from HVAC or be as an entrepreneur, even so, you know?
absolutely. You want to start a business? Speed, quickness. You have to move with urgency through your processes. So you have to move with speed, and then you need a full pipeline. So you can't move slow. You have to fail fast and you have to win fast, and you have to go. If you move slow, people are going to smoke you.
Yeah.
So when we started, that's all it was. We acted like we were a 20-year-old company. We had the nicest trucks, and we moved fast. That would be my best advice. The
Mm.
faster you move, the faster you're going to fail, but the faster you're going to win, and the faster you're going to start to figure things out. Speed. Speed is power.
And how do you, I love that. And how do you
Yeah.
take those failures? I mean, how do you learn from that? How do you grow from that?
Yeah. So when you first start out, or you're first starting out in any process or venture, whatever it is, they affect you a little bit more. As you start to grow and get better and really dial in on your target, you learn to bob and weave. You learn to kind of rope a dope, to use a
Mhm.
boxing term. But you have to learn how to ride the wave. You can't get too high and you can't get too low. You got to try to stay in the middle as much as possible. And the faster you fail and the more failures you have, you learn that's what you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Hearing that is just like makes it for me, even personally, like I like to take this in my selfish way of why I created this is that I like to listen to this and I'm like, okay, yeah, I might have failed with this, I might have created this and it didn't work out, but
Yeah.
knowing that it made me learn from my mistake or made me learn from that failure to be a better, to do something else next, but do it better, you know. But at
Yeah.
least I know
So
I tried.
absolutely. Another thing that really helped me was to just win the day. That
Mm.
that is huge. It was actually something that Ed Milet said, but he was just like, you just need to win the day and know you got tomorrow. So some days are super hectic, especially now. It's 105 degrees. We're taking 100 plus calls a day. We're trying to manage it. Guys are upset. Customers are upset. And you got to win the day, do the best you can, learn, and then start to scale and get better tomorrow.
Yeah. I forgot how hot it gets, right? New Mexico, Arizona, and you're
Yeah,
here in
we're
Utah,
not
you
as hot
know?
as Arizona. We're not as hot
Yeah.
as Arizona. I don't know what the weather's like out there, but here it's like 95, 105 or so, and it's just super dry.
Yeah, here's about 95. I think 95, 100. Not pushing 105 yet, but
Okay,
you know, yeah,
I
but
didn't
it's
realize it
still,
got that hot out there.
it does. And it's like, I mean, I don't know, it's like it's the dry one here, so it's just like, yeah, and for some reason I don't know if I'm getting old or whatever, but it's the allergies that's kicking me right now. So I'm like
Yeah,
taking like Claritin this and trying to like get through like my day, and I'm like, man, this is kicking my butt and I just want to like be able to just get on my
that's
day,
funny
you
you
know?
say that because I don't know if it's a getting old thing or not, but I've gotten out worse allergies as I've gotten older,
Yeah.
and they're
I said
terrible. I
that,
hate them.
yeah, I said that to my wife, and she's like, "You're getting old. There's nothing about it. That's what it is. It's the
Yeah,
first sign, you know." And I'm like having to carry my allergy pill. But anyways, sidetracked on
yep,
that.
yeah,
So yeah, one thing like I want to be able to say is like I want to be able to go down to New Mexico. I guess not during this time, you know, because the weather, but hopefully meet you in person and meet everyone that I met so far in New Mexico. Um,
absolutely. Get us
uh,
all on a panel.
I know, right? That'd be awesome. And I think that's the one thing I'm learning from this as I'm like growing more into it is that I communicated with someone that like, yeah, you should just be able to go in and go to those pop-up shops and then just do like a small interview and show them, you know. And the other thing is
Yeah,
like being able to break the ice. Like you mentioned you before, right before we started this podcast, is that you've done a few podcasts, but then there's those business owners who are nervous about that. They fear about being on camera, and
yeah,
now you want to be able to like, look, Brandon's like chill about it. He's cool, you know. There's nothing
yeah.
to worry about, you know. So
Confident.
what is for you that you would say is a one key of success that you can share with everyone? One or two or however whatever you want to share. But
Well, the key to success is going to be self belief. It starts with you, and it starts with how you approach your day every day. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to believe in you. So when we're starting out, I can't be telling a guy, hey, I know I'm only 2 months old, but it might work out. You should come on with us. I can't guarantee nothing. It's kind of like,
Mm,
no, come on with us. I know where we're going. Follow me, and we're going to be successful. So the first key is going to be self belief.
yeah.
Another one, not to be so cliche, but is going to be discipline.
Mm,
You know, how how you're managing your day. You know, our age group and our just demographic nowadays, everything's a distraction. The news, Ukraine, the presidential race. There's so many distractions throughout your day, and you have to remain disciplined with tunnel vision, and you have to set your eyes on the target and continue to go after it. I think those, if you start with those two, you're going to start to move and get places. Block out distractions and be self-confident, and start with that.
yeah. It's fun. It's interesting you say that. You brought that up, right? Because it's like how do you bring someone? I want to hear that story, right? Like I want to be able to hear that. It's like how do you starting off? How do you bring someone in a new company and tell them, hey, everything's gonna be okay? When you yourself, right? If you don't believe in that, but you know, like I would assume part of you is like, I don't know how this is gonna happen, but it's gonna happen, right?
Yeah. Well, so a few of the first people that we brought on, though, had known me from a different company.
Uh-huh.
So they at least gave me a solid foundation.
Okay.
We were best friend helps me run the business, actually. He's been around me enough to be like, fuck. He's at least crazy enough to try it. And he's always kind of had my back. So I know that he was going to be with me, you know. But
Okay.
again, to get other people on was all about, a lot of it was also presentation. You know, they have to know where we're going. For example, we just bought a 2-acre property, huge property. You know, there's a lot of land, there's a lot of parking space, there's a nice office. People that are coming on have to know that this company is going places. Making these types of moves is how they know that we're going places. Is it scary for me? Absolutely. But I can't talk the game and at least not try to back it up.
Yeah.
So when you're making these commitments, you have to do the things that are going to force you to grow. Meaning the guys that are coming on have to see you pushing and pressing and shoving every day to say, well, at least he's trying, he's going for it, and he's going to make it happen. So that's someone that I trust.
Yeah. And it shows too for me. I mean, you're reinvesting back to your vision, right? It's like, and you see it like, and you know, you mentioned like you don't know you don't see how, you don't know exactly like, well, I have this vision and that's gonna make it happen. But like, it's like, how do you feel? How important? Sorry, I'm like mumbling around, but how important do you feel? How important is reinvesting in your own company?
Well, reinvesting is everything. Well, I shouldn't say everything. It's very, very important.
Yeah.
You have to give back to these guys. Again, all these guys have the best trucks, the best equipment. You know, we're about to buy some training services for them. They have a nice shop. Reinvesting and giving back, they know that the work that they're putting in is going straight back to them. It's all for them to become successful. So you have to put back into the company.
Yeah. Wow. That's going back. It just shows the kind of person that you are and the leader. You know, it's like I for a minute I got lost into like thinking reinvesting is just like improving, you know, the equipment and stuff like that. But you are throwing in, you are saying reinvesting is reinvesting in your employees as well. You know, you're doing that with training.
Yeah.
You're doing that too. And for me, I like that because I guess I might be not seeing that part of it, of the business, right? I never thought about that. It might be because I have, you know, no employees, but at least knowing like, okay, this is what an actual person with employees as a true leader is saying. They need to reinvest on the company, but also their employees because they are part of the company.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's important for them. They have to see it. I mean, you have to want to do it as well, you know. But again, even just buying this shop, it's a big deal. They now know that they're at a legit company, a legit property. Your office carries a lot of weight. When they show up to work and see the building that they're now able to work out of, and to make that kind of move at 2.5 years, they know it's game time. You know, people know it is. Bigger companies are going to start to know, like, damn, all right, here they come.
This guy, yeah.
I don't know what these crazy kids are doing, but they're coming.
Yeah. I mean, you're young, you're just good, you know, like, so yeah, like you're showing that presence, like, hey, I'm here. it's gonna make
Yeah.
things happen.
Yep.
How do you look back into the first, like your first office? Where did you start off at, like as your first office, and then now seeing like how you're gonna make that new building, so how do you go back and be like, wow, kind of where you started into now?
It's surreal, if you want me to be honest. So we started out at my house in the garage. It's a very basic story, but that's where we started. We started my house in the garage, and then we moved my house, my house, and then we moved to a storage. Okay, and then we moved to a property that my friend owned. Good friend of mine. It's very simple. It got the job done, but it was just one office, one warehouse, and a small little lot. It was like 0.3 acres. And then now we're at this huge 2-acre property. And, I believe, in my opinion, that it is one of the nicest buildings that any company has in the
Mm-hmm.
state.
Yeah,
There's a few off the top of my head that I know are better, of course, but I know for a fact that this one is it's up there.
that's awesome. I can't wait to Brendan. Oh.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I got a call. That's what happened.
I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, what happened? Oh, he's gonna end it like that, the suspension. I guess I'll
No.
do part 2.
Mic drop. No.
I know, that's a good way. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to. I don't know if you haven't it's been crazy here, but can't wait to see those photos if you haven't already posted them, and just to see that, how amazing, and hopefully we could see, like, hopefully you were able to take pictures of like when you started, just to see that,
Yeah.
how beautiful that. Oh.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what I'm going to try to do, I just haven't figured out how I'm going to do it, is I'm going to do some sort of video of the property.
Yeah.
And I kept like a collage of pictures and stuff like that, of the house, the storage, and then of the other buildings.
That's gonna be awesome, man. I'm
Yeah.
excited. Can't wait to see that.
Yeah. Hopefully inspire anybody
Yeah.
out there. To be honest, like I said, I've always kind of been the underdog, not the biggest, not the fastest, not the tallest, not the strongest, definitely not the smartest. I just always believed in myself, and I hope that'll rub off on some people.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I hope it does. I hope listener viewers can see this and see that the success and the grind and the failures, but knowing like, hey, look, I'm here, and New Mets is gonna notice it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The U.S. is gonna notice one day.
Yeah, and the whole U.S. Sorry
Yes,
about
sir.
like trying to just say New Mexico.
No.
You're hungry, and that's good.
That's right. Yes, sir.
As an entrepreneur, business owner, how do you balance the demands as far as like with the personal growth and also self-care? Like,
That's
how
a
are you
big
able
question.
to do that?
Yeah. So a few things, right? I personally believe that you're going to be a little unbalanced for a while. So I think that's the initial answer. Of course, though, you have to do like some self-care stuff, right? So a few things that I do is I like to go to the gym. I go to the gym before work. I try to get there around 4:30. Sundays, I try to hit the steam room. I try to do those little checks and balances to manage my own mental as best as possible. But I can tell you that there's not really such thing as a full balance. Anybody that's going to start a business and really start to scale, there is no balance, but you do still need to find time to even out against a little bit as much as possible.
Yeah.
But it's hard, it's hard because when I get home and stuff, it's hard. I just want to keep going. I want to keep studying. I want to keep doing something. I feel when you start a business, you feel like there's always more work to be done. Like, oh, did I call that customer back? Oh, should I run a sale today? So that's what I mean. You're going to be you're always going to be a little unbalanced.
Yeah. Okay.
But it is important to find that hobby or whatever it is. And I would just say that mine's the gym. And what I try to do now is try to do the steam room.
Yeah. Geez, 4:30. It's like, it shows a commitment, and it also shows the discipline with your personal self and also with your business. And that's, either with whether you cracked it with your business or that's the person that you were before. I mean, it shows a lot, just that continuing.
Yeah.
Someone told me 4:30. Hey, it's like, let's wake up. I'm like, I can do 5:30. You're pushing 4:30.
Yeah. Well, shout out to my dad on that one. He's kind of had me in the gym for a long time. To add to that, though, as well, is it really I swear by the gym in the morning.
Yeah.
It really helps me to wake up and get moving. It sucks. It's not like I want to get up. I'm not like thrilled, like, oh my God, yay, it's 4 o'clock. Let me just
Yeah.
start running now. No, it's kind of like, fuck, I don't want to get up. I'm tired. I'm a little stressed out, but it's important that you do what you have to do regardless of how you feel.
Yeah.
So I get there, and by the time I work out and do the 15 minutes of cardio or whatever, I actually feel 100 times better, and I'm ready to conquer the world, So whereas like if I go in the afternoon or at night, I don't like to go at the night.
Yeah.
Because my head's already spinning. I'm already tired. I'm kind of checked out. I want to unwind. So for me, it's always been better to get up and start moving.
Yeah. I would do early. I mean, for the gyms here, they open up at 5:30. But I feel like it's such a young demographic here in where I live, in the area, in the city.
Yeah.
Because it's always packed, But then I use that excuse, because it's packed, there's no reason for me to work out, But
Well, sometimes it's kind of frustrating because you're like, yeah, don't you guys have anything else to go do right now?
I know
Like,
it's like you guys don't got a life, or is this part of it?
you got, yeah,
But
exactly.
oh my gosh, man, that's so cool. Let me see here. I want to be able to sometimes I get so lost in all the conversation, but
Of course.
what advice would you share? I'm sorry if this all kind of sounds all familiar and stuff, but what advice would you give to an entrepreneurs or someone, entrepreneur that's wanting to start a business like yourself, and what mindsets do you feel and qualities are essentials to be successful in that industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was actually asked that the other day. I think it's important that you start behind the scenes stuff. So somebody asked me this the other day. As you're trying to get into entrepreneurship, you got to start with your mindset. Okay, you need
Mhm.
everything. You need to believe. You need to believe in yourself, like we talked about. Okay, then you need to believe that it's possible. That life is abundant. That you can do it. It's a Grant Cardone thing, but he's like,
Mm.
there's no shortage of money or anything like that. The third thing is leadership. Those are three important pillars when you're starting out the business or even kind of considering to start a business. Three huge things: mindset, abundance, um, and then leadership.
Okay. Wow. I was like, what's it's like it works perfectly. You say something and then it cuts off, and I'm like,
Well,
oh, another mic
I don't
drop.
want to put my phone on
No.
airplane mode. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know, but
but it's Saturday. It's Saturday. It's 105 degrees here, so
no. I love
yeah.
it because every time it goes and it's always like a mic drop. I'm like, oh man, he's mastered the exit. It's just
The
like I'm
exit.
out.
Yeah.
The mic drops and
But
everything.
those are important.
Yeah,
I know I've mentioned self belief as well.
yeah.
I've mentioned speed. All of those things are important, but everything I've just mentioned all kind of falls in line. It's all the
Yeah,
same stuff. It just depends
yeah.
on where it falls in line at.
Okay. No, I appreciate it, and hopefully we get those listeners to take that and start picking from all the guests and just be perfect something that they want and make it
Yeah,
happen. So I appreciate all the knowledge you shared. Um,
absolutely.
so this is the time within that podcast that I like to have the guests kind of plug in social media, where they can find you. I know this is, I'm from Utah and you're New Mexico, but the website, anything that you want to share that you want to have so people can find you. And I'll also include this too on the description of the podcast as well.
Yeah. So, any social media, it's all Brandon Saiz. Brandon_Saiz with 3 Z's on Instagram. Our website is ncbmechanical.com. Probably the best places to find me is those.
Okay. And then any last little words that you want to, or anything that you want to leave off the listeners and viewers with?
I just hope people believe in themselves. I hope you and double down on that vision that you have and go make a play. We're not here forever. You don't got all the time in the world, but you got it in you, and you got to believe in yourself.
No, well, Brandon, thank you for those words. Thank you for your time. Hopefully I can make that vision and go down to New Mexico and do like a panel with every guest that I have so far
Yeah.
from New Mexico, because I think those
sir.
I mean, that whole I can feel it. That's gonna be crazy, just the energy and everything that's been put and said. So can't wait for
Yeah.
that to happen. And I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
make that a
New
goal,
Mexico.
because I'm not gonna just speak it, like you said, right? If I'm gonna speak it, I better make that into existence, because or
You
else
can't
it's
just talk
just,
it.
yeah,
You
I
got to
can't
back it
talk
up.
it. So now that I
You got to
said
back
it,
it up.
I guess it's on there. So I gotta,
That's another thing. That last thing. Be accountable in life.
yeah.
Don't be someone that's going to talk and not do. Everything's your fault for the right reasons and the wrong reasons. If you win, it's your fault. If you lose, it's your fault. You got to check yourself in the mirror and say, "Damn, I got to be fucking better." And accountability is huge. That's probably one of the things I missed today. Be accountable. Stop blaming other people. Stop pointing the finger. It's on you to get better. Nobody else. So
All right,
that's the last
Brandon.
thing. Sorry. Quick
I
rant.
know you
Sorry.
get. No,
I had
it's
to
like
get that one out of there. I forgot about the accountability thing.
it's like you already you already had so many
There we
mic
go.
drops, and
Yeah.
it's just like you just ended up with the biggest of all. So it's true.
There we
And
go.
I appreciate your, first of all, I appreciate your time. I appreciate uh for your follow, and also for being able to take that time to come into this podcast and see the vision of it. But I also want to just thank you for seeing that person that you are and just continuing. And also just want to make sure, like, and say that hopefully you continue with your, not hopefully, that your continuation of your business continues to grow, and then can't wait to see more, more photos, more stuff, and just seeing that, okay, Brandon is him. He is like awesome. He's killing it.
Yep. Yes, sir.
So,
yeah, I think we got a great team. I love the team that we got. I'm excited for our growth, and maybe we'll be in Utah next. Take over Utah.
all right. Looking forward to that. Hey, he spoke it.
Alrighty.
So yeah. All right, Brandon. Thank
Now
you
I
so
got to
much.
back it up.
Now you got to
Yes,
back
sir.
it up. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.